Hello there. You like my dog? It's pretty cute, huh? Anyways, let's talk about extinction. I'm just gonna read this from the textbook since I really don't care. In due time, all species become extinct. During most of the 3.56 billion years that life has existed on Earth, there has been a continuous low level of extinction of species known as background extinction. An extinction rate is expressed as a percentage or number of species that go extinct within a certain time period, such as a year. Biologists distinguish among three levels of species extinction. Local extinction occurs when a species is no longer found in an area it once inhabited but is still found elsewhere in the world. Most local extinctions involve losses of one or more populations of species. Ecological extinction occurs when so few members of a species are left that it can no longer play its ecological roles in the biological communities where it is found. But I'm sure you know that, right? An endangered species has so few individual survivors that the species could soon become extinct over all or most of its natural range, the area in which it is normally found. A threatened species, also known as a vulnerable species, is still abundant in its natural range, but because of declining numbers, is likely to become endangered in the near future.
According to the book, it will take 5 to 10 million years for national speciation to rebuild the biodiversity we are likely to destroy within our lifetime. Premature extinction is a problem that we should prevent. This happens when human life interferes with animals and causes them to shorten the lifetime of them and their species. Although new species eventually evolve to take places of those lost in mass extinctions, it is still immoral of us to continue doing it. Each animal is beneficial to their habitat, which is called instrumental value. Instrumental value is the animal's usefulness to us in providing many of the ecological and economic services that make up the Earth's capital. There are two forms, use values and non-use values. Use values benefit us in the form of economic goods and services, ecological services, recreation, scientific information, and the continuation of such uses for future generations. Non-use values like existence values, which is the satisfaction of knowing that nature exists. There are several types of non-use values like aesthetic value, which is the appreciation of a tree or tropical bird for its beauty. Bequest value is a third type of value based on the fact that people will pay to protect some forms of natural capital for use by future generations. Species diversity holds ecological value because it is a vital component of the key ecosystem functions of energy flow, nutrient cycling, and population control. In other words, the species and ecosystems provide essential ecosystems or natural services that sustain the Earth's life and economies. Going back to other animals that we benefit from, each of our species is believed to have intrinsic or existence value based on its inherent right to exist and play its ecological roles, regardless of its usefulness to us. We should be more careful with the environment, especially in the essentials, since some biologists caution us to not focus primarily on protecting relatively large organisms. They remind us that the true foundation of the Earth's ecosystems and ecological processes is made up of invisible bacteria and the algae, fungi, and other microorganisms that decompose the bodies of larger organisms and recycle the nutrients needed by all life.
According to biodiversity researchers, the greatest threat to wild species is habitat loss, degradation, and fragmentation. Deforestation in tropical areas is the greatest eliminator of species, followed by the destruction and degradation of coral reefs and wetlands, plowing of grasslands, and pollution of streams, lakes, and oceans. Temperate biomes have been affected more by habitat loss and degradation than have tropical biomes because of widespread economic development in temperate countries over the past 200 years. Such development is now shifting to tropical biomes. Island species are especially vulnerable to extinction when their habitats are destroyed, degraded, or fragmented. Habitat fragmentation occurs when a large area of habitat is reduced in area and divided into smaller, more scattered and isolated patches or habitat islands. This process can decrease tree populations in forest, block migration routes, and divide populations of a species into smaller and more isolated groups that are more vulnerable to predators, competitor species, disease, and catastrophic events such as storms and fires. Scientists use the theory of island biogeography to help them understand the effects of fragmentation on species extinction and to develop ways to help prevent such extinction. Approximately 70% of the world's nearly 10,000 known bird species are declining in numbers, and roughly one every eight of these bird species is threatened with extinction, mostly because of habitat loss, degradation, and fragmentation. About three-fourths of the threatened bird species live in forests, many of which are being cleared at a rapid rate, especially in the tropical areas in Asia and Latin America. Some protected species are illegally killed for their valuable parts or are sold live to collectors. Some poaching endangers many larger animals and some rare plants. Globally, this illegal trade in wildlife earns smugglers at least $10 billion a year, an average of $19,000 a minute. To poachers, a live mountain gorilla is worth $150,000, a giant panda pelt $100,000, a chimpanzee $15,000, an imperial Amazon macaw $30,000, and a Komodo dragon reptile from Indonesia $30,000. Tigers are also threatened because they are killed for their coats and body parts. The Bengal or Indian tiger is at risk because a coat made from its fur can sell for as much as $100,000 in Tokyo. Wealthy collectors have paid $10,000 to $20,000 for a Bengal tiger rug. In the last 2 decades, bushmeat hunting in some areas has skyrocketed as local people try to provide food for rapidly growing populations or seek to make a living by supplying restaurants with exotic meat. One problem today is that bushmeat hunting has led to the local extinction of many wild animals in parts of West Africa and has driven one species to complete extinction. It is also a factor in reducing gorilla, chimpanzee, elephant, and hippopotamus populations.
Many groups have come forward to try to stop the premature extinction of animals. Either in land or sea, animals suffer from accidents caused by humans or purposely because of hunting or careless acts, such as pollution or global warming. There have been several international treaties to protect wild animals of the world. One example is CITES, the Convention of International Trade in Endangered Species of Wild Fauna and Flora. It is a treaty that has been signed by 172 countries to stop hunting, capturing, and selling of endangered species. There are many animals in different parts of the world that have a low population because most of them were killed off. In total, there are 900 species listed that cannot be traded as live specimens or wildlife products. With the CITES Treaty, it has helped reduce international trade in many threatened species, such as elephants. Only beginning with a few million at the turn of the 20th century, there were about 100,000 Asian elephants. Today, there are estimated to be 450,000 to 700,000 African elephants and between 35,000 to 40,000 Asian elephants. It's limited in some countries. Violators only pay a small fine. The CBD Biodiversity Treaty, ratified by 190 countries, excluding the U.S., on reversing biodiversity and control the spread of harmful invasive species. The Endangered Species Act of 1973, aimed at identifying endangered animals in the U.S. Many organizations came out to help the environment, such as NMFS, identifying endangered species in the ocean, while the USFWS aimed at any other species above water. Offenses committed on private lands can go as far as paying up to $100,000 and 1 year in prison to ensure protection of the habitats of endangered species.
Why am I doing this? I mean, it's not like you guys even care. All you guys want to do is fool around in class. What am I doing? Think this is funny?